What's up, guys? Raju here, and today I want to talk about a very underrated cartoon TV show by the name of Primal. We're going to talk season 3. It's done by Gennady Tarkovsky. He did Dexter's Lab, the original Clone Wars, like little miniseries one, and of course Samurai Jack, all phenomenal shows. And this ranks up there with them. I feel like this is just as good as all those shows that I mentioned. It reminds me a lot of the Hyborian Age of Conan, where it mixes the science fiction, fantasy, horror, action, and adventure, all of those genres together. You have dinosaurs, you have like zombie-esque creatures, monsters, large, big cats, lions. You have cavemen, you have Vikings, you have islanders, you have all types of characters with, I'd say, little to no dialogue whatsoever, but all of the story beats hit, right, and the emotional beats hit. It gets very emotional, especially at the beginning. Now, I'm not going to go through the first 2 seasons, full spoilers for this though. At the end of season 2, and I felt like that was it. I felt like season 2 ends the show, and I didn't know why they did a season 3, because at the end of season 2, you follow these characters, Fang and Spear. Spear is the main protagonist. He's a Neanderthal, and his mate and children are attacked by a pack of horned tyrannosauruses. And then he wants to commit suicide, but he ends up obviously not doing that, and he runs into Fang later on, who is a female Tyrannosaurus whose hatchling are killed by the same horned dinosaur pack. And at first they meet up, they fight, but they become super good friends and they go on these really good adventures. Well, Spear ends up meeting Mira. She, an Arabic-speaking Nubian woman, and she was enslaved, head shaved, but she comes from a clan. But she was enslaved by this Viking clan. And then Mira escapes when she helped with the help of Spear and Fang, and then they become good friends. And of course, obviously, they kind of fall in love and they start a thing. And then Mira takes Spear and Fang back to her tribe, and they kind of live there. Well, the Viking, he comes back. This is season 2. And after he is initially killed, he swears revenge because Spear and Fang, they kill his son. He becomes this, like, I don't want to say Ragnarok. Maybe it is Ragnarok. But he becomes this spirit and who's made of fire. And he ends up killing, not really killing, but he crucially hurts Spear. And then this is at the end of season 2. And then after he completes his goal, I believe he loses, but like whoever the demon is that the Viking made that deal with takes him back to hell or Hades or whatever, that their version of it is. And then Spear ends up dying, and they have an epilogue at the end of season 2. Before he dies, Mira has sex with him, which is really weird because he's like burned, but has sex with him, and she ends up getting pregnant. Oh, and then Fang ends up getting pregnant as well, and ends up having 2 hatchlings. I think 3, and then one of them gets killed. But and so they kind of, they have this family, and you can tell Spear, he always makes these cave paintings, and it just starts off with the cave paintings originally were of his clan, and then they obviously end up getting killed, his family, but then he makes the cave paintings of him and Fang, and then it ends up being him, Fang, and Mira, and then it ends up being him, Fang, Mira, and the 2 hatchlings, which is really, really cool. And then at the end, though, she does get pregnant, and they show an epilogue where it shows the daughter. She has the long hair of Spear, the long black hair. He looks like Conan in this cartoon, which is funny, like the actual Frank Frazetta Conan, not like the Arnold Conan, which, I love both. But that's what he ends up looking like. But she has like the long hair. She has a mix of Mira and him, and she's riding one of the hatchlings, and they end it like that, as in, he dies, and then they kind of live like happily ever after. Well, season 3 starts off to where there is there's like these ape creatures that invade the village, and the shaman, he uses some black magic, and he resurrects Spear. And Spear he comes back as a zombie. He's limited sentience. He wanders the land, and while he has visions of while he was alive. And then what happens is the shaman dies, and so Spear ends up just kind of wandering around. And then he does end up meeting up with, I shouldn't say, it takes a minute for him to meet up with them, but he kind of goes on these small adventures, slowly but surely remembering who he was. Not really, but he starts to, and his instincts are still there to where he can fight and do all that stuff. But it's at first I didn't know how I felt about that, because I felt like season 2's ending, well, I do feel like his death just kind of came out of nowhere in that last battle. I felt like the epilogue ended it real well. And then I was like, man, season 3, how are they going to do this? And then I saw they bring him back as a zombie, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. But it ends up working out in the end, and Spear ends up meeting up with Mira and Fang. And Fang is not like, because he's still like zombie mode, and he's missing part of his hand because he fights like these lions, and he remembers Fang. He ends up finding this cricket, and the colors remind him of Fang, and so he ends up doing whatever he can to help this cricket, and he ends up messing up these mole man, or it's a grasshopper, my bad. He ends up killing all these mole man, but one of the grasshopper, the grasshopper does end up getting smashed by these cave dwellers, and he ends up, just going ape shit and killing them, which is, it's crazy because you feel his pain when the cricket or the grasshopper dies, and then you're like, man, I really hope he wrecks shop, and he does, because he's just absolute savage. Think Conan the Barbarian, Wolverine, kind of, in the same kin, but he ends up killing all these. He smashes everybody. Like, the dude's like, he takes an ass whipping, but he ends up killing all of them. And then at one point, he does end up meeting back up with Mira, and he does end up meeting back up with Fang, and they're like, what the hell? They're like, this is weird. Like, what is this guy? And they're really, the village, when he goes to find her again, and the village sees him, and they try to attack him. And of course, I'm probably mixing up some stuff because it's been a while since I've watched it week to week. I didn't binge this. I actually watched it week to week. So long story short, he ends up, getting shunned from the village, and he sees that she's pregnant, and he's like, wow, this is really cool. And I think she ends up having, I can't remember. Does he know she has the baby? Well, he ends up going away, and what happens is, like, he runs away, and he ends up falling down this waterfall, and he ends up going to, like, where this dark part of the continent where like it's this lava place where these volcanoes are, and these like humanoid creatures are there, and if you want to be king of the creatures, you have to have a trial by combat. And he ends up fucking everybody up. But when he has this trial by combat, they kind of give him this, it's like, there's like this water or this type of serum, and it's resurrecting him. And this liquid that they give him, it's giving him increased strength, but it's also kind of repairing his body. And so he's becoming less and less zombie. Now, I didn't notice this until towards the end, to where next thing you know, he still has like the green, grayish skin, but his face all of a sudden looks a little bit normal. So I don't think they were doing this. I swear it just kind of happened. And then Mira gives birth, and he ends up going to see Mira, because he ends up killing this one guy that has a giant pterodactyl. And he takes the pterodactyl, and he goes back to the village, and he sees that she has a baby, and he's like, oh shit, that's like, and I think he realized that it's his baby. So when he goes back to have to do more battles, instead of wearing the crown and caring about the crown, he ends up taking little trinkets from each battle he has, and he creates this little doll because he wants to give it to the little girl. He wants to give it to the baby. But meanwhile, the volcanic elder, notices this, and she's like, something's not right here. Something's going on. And so they end up going to find him because she sees that he showed up in the village one night with the pterodactyl, and she goes to find him. And Mira does. Mira's mad at Fang because Fang has been treating him like shit. And they go to find him, and they get jacked up by like this weird, like Black Panther werewolf style creature. And then what happens is Spear ends up tracking them down. And when he goes to find them, he sees that the volcanic elder had captured them, and she gives them the liquid, and it makes them insane, and they're all fighting each other, and he has to figure out a way to stop them from fighting each other. And he does that. The lava kind of brings them back. And then finally, freaking, he's like kind of back to normal by then. And they notice that, and then him and Fang notices that, and they end up being really cool and kind of just coming back together as a family, which is really, really cool. And it's like you've been waiting for this the whole season. And then after he ends up bringing everybody back from that liquid that makes them insane, he ends up, Fang's the last one that gets freed, and they save each other from because of lava and the volcanoes going off, and they end up fleeing the volcanic fields back to Mira's village. And then they show what happens years later. They revisit the epilogue, but before they do that, Spear is sleeping in the same room with Mira and the baby, and he finally gives the baby the little doll he made for her. And he gets up, and he's kind of, he's used to not sleeping like that in the bed. So he gets up, and he finds Fang and the two hatchlings. And the two hatchlings loved him right away because they knew who he was. But Fang was not about it. But finally, they're all cool. Fang realizes who it is, and it's really cool to see that bond. And it's cool because they have the shot when he's finally riding Fang again, because throughout the series, that's what he did. And they have the really cool epic shot where he's finally riding Fang again, like horseback, and that's just really cool. But anyways, he gets up out of bed, and he goes to lay down with Fang, and that's what he would do. He would curl up with Fang with her tail, and then this time the hatchlings see it, and they go lay down with him, and then Mira comes in with the baby, and they all lay down together. But before he does that, he adds to the mural on the wall of all of them together, and it's just really cool. It's really heartwarming, and it's crazy because the show it's a really insane show. There's no dialogue. But man, they capture all the heartwarming moments, all the breathtaking action moments, all the horrific moments, all the sad moments, and all the joyous moments. And they know how to capture it so well. Gennady Tarkovsky and his crew, I don't think they miss, man. This is just an excellent show, and I don't see a lot of people talking about it. Like I said, the whole zombie take, I was just like, I don't know about this. But then they end up bringing him back to life. And I felt like, or restoring him, I should say. And I felt like that whole thing was very rushed. And I felt like the end of season 2 was rushed. And I felt like the end of season 3 was rushed. But it still works. And at the end, they show you the epilogue of season 2, right? How it ends, because they don't show, Spear, he's supposed to be dead. They show the family, they show the little girl riding on one of the hatchlings, but then they show the other part, the other side, because you're looking at the end of the epilogue, you're actually looking through Spear's eyes, and so they show like the other side, and it's him. He's standing there happy, and he's with his family again. So I don't know if they'll make another season. I really don't think they need to, because that's kind of like the happily ever after part. Really, really good. He gets reunited with his family. He gets the happy ending. And it's just a great show, man. Like I said, it reminds me of Conan the Barbarian with the savagery, with the fantasy, with the horror, with the adventure, the sense of adventure. The camaraderie with little to no dialogue in this show. The connections between characters. You feel it. It's just such a good show. And it's an easy binge because each episode, I think, is like 25 minutes long. You can find it on, I believe, HBO Max or the Cartoon Network. Their app, if they have one. I know everything's weird now that Paramount is going to get HBO, so who knows what's going to happen. But I guarantee, man, if you're a fan of Gennady Tarkovsky stuff or just good animated shows, watch this show. Watch season 1, 2, and 3. And like I said, I don't know if they're going to do a season 3. I don't think they need, or I'm sorry, a season 4. I don't think they need to. It's good, right? They didn't even need a season 2 or a season 3, in my opinion. But they made it work, and I was still like, I don't know how I feel about this with the whole zombie thing, but they made it work. You got to really, there's a lot of hand-waving as far as like how things work in this universe, but it does. And I enjoy the characters, and I enjoy the fact that everyone gets a happy ending. So have you watched Primal Season 3? I highly recommend it. If you haven't watched the show, I highly recommend the show. It's such a good cartoon. It's very fun. It's extremely different, but they do everything very, very well. Great storytelling, solid animation, and just a really well done show. All right, thanks for listening. I'm Rohit Raju. You guys take care.